Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again. I'm Shivam Datta. I'm the founder and CEO of AlmaBetter. So, we are an AI company that aims to integrate risk-free education with better income opportunities. So, I welcome you all to today's Ask Me Anything session. So, we conduct these sessions every week, and this is an integral part of our Learn, Earn, Return program that we offer here at AlmaBetter. So, we conduct these sessions wherein we invite a distinguished member of the data science community, and these sessions are very insightful for our students who want to break into this field. And so interacting with the guest speaker and listening about their experience gives the students a perspective as to how they should prepare themselves for their journey ahead, right? With that being said, let's welcome our guest for today, Mr. Rudraksh Syal. So Rudraksh is a senior data scientist at 84.51 degrees. He did his master's in mathematics and statistics from BITS Pilani. He also acquired master's degree in business analytics and information management from Purdue University in the United States. So his in his career, Rudraksh has utilized data science capabilities across various sectors and has recently done some amazing work in the field of space optimization. And in this session, he is going to share his learnings and insights with young AI and ML enthusiasts like you, right? So, Rudraksh, thank you so much for taking the time out for this session. It's a pleasure to have you here today. All of us are really looking forward to hear about your learnings and experiences. So,
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
yeah. So, to begin with the AMA, is there anything that you would like to add to your professional background, Rudraksh?
Sure, Shivam. Thanks a lot for the introduction. So basically, I am currently working as a senior data scientist at 8451,
Mhm.
which is basically like a wholly owned subsidiary of Kroger.
Mhm.
And Kroger is like a big retail store here.
Mhm.
So I am like juggling responsibilities between the merchandising team and the space optimization team here at 8451.
Okay.
And basically I have done my master's from Purdue, and before that I have worked in India for 3 years as a data scientist at Practo Technologies.
Mhm.
We were like, I was involved in the healthcare tech startup sector, so Practo was a part of it. And then before that I have done like my master's in mathematics from BITS Pilani. So yeah, that's about my background.
Great to know. I think it will be a fun session here today. Learn about your experiences in all of the companies that you have worked in. So, Rudraksh, as a senior data scientist, your job must revolve around formulating and managing data-driven projects, which are geared at furthering the client's business interests, right? So, could you share some of the projects that you have worked on that aim to solve some serious business challenges? Also, it would be great if you could talk about the business impact that those projects kind of created.
Sure, absolutely. So this is one of the projects I executed when I was working as a data scientist at Practo. So we were basically like a healthcare tech startup who was selling practice management software to the doctors.
Mhm.
And we were at that time in a very nascent state. So the sales representatives, being our customers, did not really know who are the correct set of doctors to really pitch to. So they came to us with the data set for the doctors and everything. And our job, like my job or my team's job, was basically to build a model for them, to really predict like what is the likelihood of a doctor of buying the software, like the practice management software. So like following basically a logistic regression model, we basically predicted the likelihood that a doctor will buy that particular software or not.
Mhm.
And we implemented it. We scored all the doctor leads, and then we gave them to the sales representatives, and they accordingly prioritized the leads and closed the sold the software to the doctors. So measuring this, basically the impact of this project was measured after a cool down period of like a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw like the sales increased by around 16%. So quarter over quarter, we kept on measuring the impact, and we were able to close much more leads with the targeted list that our team gave to the sales representatives, as compared to like before, where they did not have any science-backed method. So
Right.
yeah.
So I guess, yeah, this now that I think of it, this is a generic problem across startups. Startups are basically trying to offer products which are not seen before, right? So this challenge, persists in across startups, wherein you have to predict, or you have to channelize your sales resources to the right set of target audience who are more likely to adopt your product. And me working at Blackbuck, we were also focusing on fleet owners, right? So they are also very naive about the offerings, tech, and all of that, right? So it's very important that you kind of are able to predict uh, who will actually acquire your product and try it out, right? So yeah, that's a very good project, I must say, right? So yeah. So Rudraksh, as you said, right, so you have been juggling between merchandising and space optimization, right? So you have recently optimized the bakery space in a Kroger store. So could you please share how that experience was for you? What kind of data science techniques, models did you deploy in that project?
Sure, sure, absolutely. So I've like recently taken on the responsibility of handling the projects in the space optimization team, where to per se, like the business goal was that how should we optimize the space allocated to the bakery commodities, say like you can say bread or breakfast sweets or cakes or cookies. So how do you optimize their space allocated to these commodities in a store, such that you're also maximizing the sales for the whole bakery department?
Right.
And how we went about this was we had like stores data of like something around 500 stores, which we basically took to run the regression model. And we said like, okay, these are the attributes of these 500 stores, say sales area or number of households which are shopping there. And then we predicted like what are the sales for these particular stores. And then once we have the sales for all these stores, what we try to do is we try to predict on new stores which Kroger was opening in 2021. So the whole idea was like, if Kroger is opening like a new store in 2021,
Mhm.
what is the best way in which we can allocate the space to these bakery commodities? So
Right.
then we trained the model on 500 stores. Then we predicted the sales for like a new store in 2021, which was about to open. And and in that particular store, when we have the sales, we will basically run like an optimization model to really say like, okay, we can allocate like 10 feet of space to bread or 30 feet of space to cakes, thereby maximizing the sales. And just to touch up a little bit more upon the prediction models, so it was like a separate model for each of the commodities.
Right.
And for instance, like for cakes and cookies, it was like linear regression, but for bread it was random forest. So
Mhm.
different kind of prediction models, and then finally like an optimization model to maximize the sales, given like what space will you allocate to these commodities.
Right. Interesting use case, I must say, right? So different models working for different categories of products, right? Not necessarily one algorithm is generalizing across products, right? So yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so while working on data science projects, you must have collaborated with different teams or verticals of the company, right? Like
Mhm.
marketing, growth, business, operations, right? So Rudraksh, in what ways does a data science team support the functions of other teams, or vice versa?
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah. So I would say like it also depends on the scale of the company. So it depends like if it's a really huge firm like say Amazon or Kroger or something, you will have like specific teams based for each function.
Mhm.
So the collaboration depends on that. But from my perspective, say we were involved like with the business teams. who were basically serving the CPGs or consumer producing good companies like Pepsi or Kraft. And we were doing data science solutions for them, say like migration analysis or customer profiling and so on. And then a few other times, if the growth team has like a new Kroger store which has to be opened in a particular location, they would come to us asking like what are the factors that we should consider to really open a new store, and then what are the factors that we should, or what are the metrics that we should track to really see if store is doing well or not. So these are like a few things. And then I think the closest related is data engineering team, who developed the if you say like Spark configuration of a particular cluster when you're working in big data environment, or doing like the backend work of configuring ETL jobs and everything. So that all portion is done by the data engineering team, which like enables us to just focus on the data science part of it.
Right, right. So I guess this is one of the fun aspects of being a data scientist. You get to interact with a whole lot of people from different domains, and that kind of enhances your knowledge about the how the company overall is functioning, because you're dealing with business problems, but you're also involved with tech, you are also involved with product, so on, right? So Rudraksh, you have previously worked as a data scientist
Mhm,
at Practo, right? So this is a
mhm,
health tech company for about 3 years. So,
mhm.
in what ways do you think the health tech sector is benefiting from the inclusion of data science and allied practices? So, could you please explain this through some applications that you have seen, or probably you can envision for
Mhm.
the applications of data science in health tech?
Sure, 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 absolutely. So I think the biggest factor for healthcare tech sector is, I think, the advertisement space.
Mhm,
And I know that in India it's not allowed to really advertise the doctors, but you can definitely advertise the practices or their clinics,
mhm,
right? So even on our website like practo.com, we were basically we had like every fifth or sixth slot for a sponsored advertisement. So
mhm.
that is like the advertisement business is like a pretty big opportunity in healthcare tech sector as well, apart from like other domains that you can really utilize data science in, like which slot to really assign to which particular clinic, and then how to optimize that, and so on. And then there are like other things, like you can also do like doctor ranking there, what rank is assigned to each particular doctor. Or you can one of the most important things which we used to do was on the clinic healthcare records, we used to run NLP and then parse the records and see like what is the sentiment of those particular interactions and so on. So I think even NLP is one of the fields where data science can get into the healthcare tech sector.
Right, right. Very interesting application, I must say. But also from a customer's perspective, right? So, with all these apps coming in, people also get to know which doctor is the best in their area, right? So, a lot of reviews, a lot of ratings are being given. So, people
Mhm.
are able to make an informed decision regarding whom to consult. And that is kind of also driven by all the data that is coming in into the system and catering to the decision making of the customers as well. Of course, from a revenue front of a company, advertising is a very good application wherein they can drive their revenue, right? So yeah, I think Rudrak's very nice insights on that one. So you have been actively deploying data science in various fields, right? So for the past 5 years. So in these years, you must have gotten a hang of the way in which the industry functions, right? So
Mhm.
what do you think is the future of data science industry in terms of new developments that might occur, and also in terms of the job prospects in this field?
Sure, sure, sure. So I would say in at least like a good number of companies in US,
Mhm.
there are softwares which are using auto machine learning to really run the predictive models and everything.
Mhm.
So in my opinion, more and more work is getting automated for just the prediction or modeling piece.
Right.
But data scientists and analysts are still needed, in the sense that you always need to pre-process the data. You always
Correct.
need to see the distributions of the data that is incoming, and you can't just inject the data into a model and run the models, because auto ML softwares will do that, and then they'll do like a much better job than you. They'll do like 200 models which will predict like a good value, but then the thing is you have to do like the pre-processing and the EDA part, and to inject prepare the data to really inject in the model. So I
Mhm.
think that will be like a kind of a cornerstone for the data science industry in the future, when machine learning techniques are getting automated. And then apart from that, I also feel like data science is moving a little bit towards the business side. So I mean, business is like kind of embedded in every single data science team now. So I mean, understanding the business is one other key aspect, I think, which will be important in the future of data science jobs.
Right, right. Yep, definitely. So these jobs are going to stay for quite some time, right? So, and as I say, right, so in my personal opinion, if you are going to automate certain stuff, data scientists are going to do that. It's just that the scope of work of a data scientist changes. That's all, right?
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, so at AlmaBetter, our students learn the application of data science concepts through industry-based capstone projects, right? So
Mhm.
could you share your understanding of the data science life cycle so that students know how to go about a data science problem?
Sure, sure, sure. So, I mean, if you get like a, say, a data science, I mean, a kind of a data set where you have to like either predict, or it's if it's like a continuous data with or without labels or something, the
Mm-hmm.
very first step is basically to pre-process the data, see
Correct.
like if there are any outliers, if you need to impute any values,
Mhm.
and so on, and then kind of simultaneously do the exploratory part of it, like what is the distribution of my data, how does the distribution look, if it's like continuous, then how does the y variable vary, what are the correlations of y variable with the like independent x variables.
Mhm.
And once you've done all that and like front loaded kind of your project, then you should go towards the modeling piece, where I mean, if it's like a data which has classes, then you should probably go with logistic regression or random forest,
Mhm.
according to your choice of model. And then the important piece is the model performance, which there are like a number of good methods, but still, I mean, you should go for like, if there is, it's like logistic regression you're running, then whether recall is important for you, or sensitivity or like precision is important for you. So you should keep that all in mind and then see the performance metrics. And then finally, I mean, you should provide like the insights and recommendations to the customer, which is like super important, because to tie it all back to the business is like the key goal here, that most of the companies and most of the projects serve. So you should tie back all of your insights to the business goal.
Yep, yep. And I think the most important part, you mentioned a very good term, front loading, right? So I think that is the most important part, wherein you process the data, and then that is the important part. If you think of an analogy, right? So putting the clothes in the washing machine, that is the most important part. Everything else will be taken care. Of course, you need to see what are the results, but yeah, how do you process the data, and how do you derive insights as to what models you should top it up with, is kind of very, very important, right? So yeah. So and that's the reason probably why we have one capstone project which is solely dedicated to what happens before modeling, right? So yeah. So
Yeah.
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 So Rudraksh, I think we can move a bit towards interview prep and networking based discussion. So uh,
Sure.
Rudraksh, you while working on projects and teams, you must
Mhm.
work with you must have worked with young data scientists as well, right?
Mhm.
So as a senior, you must provide them with the practical knowledge and guidance needed to work on a project. So
Mhm.
in your opinion, what is expected from a junior data scientist who is looking or who is working on his her first team project in the industry?
Sure, sure, yeah. Um, so there are like a couple of segments that I wanted to like specify here. One
Mhm,
is the first and the foremost part is like coding.
mhm,
So if not, even if not like R and Python, you should definitely be proficient in SQL, because that's like the language where you'll extract the data and then manipulate it.
mhm,
If you know any one of the languages from R and Python, that would be like an additional advantage. But SQL is like a must, which is definitely asked in I think all the interviews that I have faced. So
mhm,
SQL is definitely a must. The second thing is basically people here at like interviews, they do not really care how many like models you have run, but whether your concepts behind those models are strong or not. So you should know like what is a balanced or unbalanced data set. You should know how to do a pre-processing. You should know how to impute values, the method to impute values, kind of like the pre-processing piece of it. Because
yep,
everyone knows that there is like just a single command which you will do and the model like random forest can run. But how do you really input the parameters there or tune the hyperparameters? That is like the more important thing. So I
right,
think that is one thing which is super important. And then I think second thing is you should be like open to collaboration in the data science field, because it's like kind of mixing or intermingling with business a lot these days. So you should be able to collaborate with the business folks and understand like what their goal is and work accordingly.
yep. So it's not a one-man army kind of thing wherein you can do everything on your own. You have to constantly collaborate, speak, understand with various teams, persons to be able to complete an end-to-end project, right? Yep. So, Rudraksh, with while changing roles, you must have cleared various data science interviews, right? And you must also have interviewed candidates for your team, right? So, could you share some interview tips that budding data scientists should keep in mind so as to aptly present themselves in the interviews? Like, what skills, technical or non-technical, would you look for in a data scientist for an entry-level position?
Got it. So I think, as I said, like coding is one thing. I would definitely see SQL,
Mhm,
one thing, and then from machine learning, I think even if we are not like aware or we have not implemented like random forest or anything,
mhm,
people are expected to be really clear on what exactly is linear regression and
correct.
what exactly is logistic regression. So those two are like regression methods which are for continuous and classification data, and those are like the most basic models that I think people should are expected to be aware of, including like what are the distributions like or what are the assumptions of each of them, and
Mhm,
so on, and what are the performance metrics of each of them. So I am not saying like you don't have to go into deep like okay bagging, boosting, or deep learning or anything, but basics for linear regression and logistic regression should be definitely clear. And then apart from that I think a little bit of a business knowledge when you go into an interview, and the keenness to know about it more, and the interest that you are showing may it be like a product role or like a growth role, but you should have like show like a little bit of an interest in that, so that would definitely help.
right, right. Yep, very interesting piece of advice, right? So, basics should be very, very clear, right? So,
Yeah.
it's kind of uh, linear and logistic regression, are kind of it's the bridge between statistics and ML. So, at least it should
Okay.
be able to fully comprehend the transition, right? Because
Hmm.
then you are fundamentally positioned well to understand complex algorithms, right? So
Correct.
yeah.
Yes.
So we are close to the end of this session, Rudraksh. So do you have any key piece of advice for our students before they begin their professional journeys in the field of data science?
Sure. Yeah. So I would just like to say, I mean, just do not just, kind of keep running the machine learning models. Whatever model you're running or utilizing, understand the concept behind it, and at least like a basic statistic behind it. That is one important point. Second is, these days A/B testing is something which is really like coming up in a lot of interviews, and in a lot of companies they are like utilizing it in like large scale. So maybe you should read about A/B testing. And then the third thing is the product case interviews, which is
Right.
basically like a business interview or business case which is given to you, and then you have to solve it via your data science acumen. So I
Correct.
think these three things, if you remember, I think they can really help you in the interview process.
Totally agreed with all the three, especially the last one. I guess need to be well versed with the use cases of data science for a particular problem, and should be able to think it um, within 15 minutes, right, within 5 minutes. So you should be able to come up with a solution given a problem statement as to how you would use data science. Very basic solutions. Maybe you not need to get into deeper aspects of the problem, but at least the basic problems you should be able to highlight in an interview as to what you can do and what approaches you'll use from a data science perspective, right? So yeah. So folks, with this we have reached the end of the session. Thank you, Rudraksh. Thank you so much for taking the time out for this session. I know, Ravi has been connecting with you, and you, because you're based out of US, it's kind of difficult to come up with the time, right, which is suitable for both the time zones. So it was a great session, and hopefully the students got to learn a lot about the industry. So to our audience, if you have any further questions about the data science industry, you can connect with Rudraksh on LinkedIn. I hope that is okay with you, Rudraksh.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
So again, it was lovely to have you here today. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure, yeah. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.